Creator Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Jacques van Heerden, the Managing Director of Wits Mining, an Australia-listed company intent on reviving mining in part of South Africa's historic Witwatersrand gold basin. Hi Jacques, nice to chat to you again. Can you tell us what is the latest news on the Witwatersrand Basin project?
Thanks, Martin. Look, we ended the year quite busy last year. There's a couple of activities that we released. The main one was where we were able to raise about 9.5 million Aussie dollars in capital. Now that sets us up for this year to continue with our early development as we published as well last year. There was also quite a bit of work that happened on site. We appointed our mining contractor, Wits Mining, and these guys have now established site quite nicely. Our box cut was properly supported, and that then enabled us to start with the rehabilitation of our underground decline. It's an old decline that we're busy rehabilitating and we're cleaning out. So that process was started last year, and that is ongoing at the moment. Another thing that was quite a big one for us is we announced a resource upgrade where we increased our resource by about 700,000 ounces, from the old 3.5 to the new 4.3 million ounces that we've got. And that was quite an exciting development for us, that we know that we've got a strong ore body there and there's a lot of growth potential for us as well. And that we'll spend this year looking at how to optimize that ore body as well.
And what sort of grades are we talking about there in this resource? And let's get to the reserve as well.
So our resource grade, because we were able to upgrade quite a bit on the main reef and the main reef leader, which is historically a nice high-grade ore body, and because we were able to bring more of that into our resource state, our average grade for the whole resource has gone up by about 0.3 gram a ton. So we're currently sitting at about 4.5 gram a ton as an overall resource. So that I think that's quite an exciting grade for us. The Kala Shallows area where we finalized our feasibility study last year, we didn't do any further upgrades because I think we understand that ore body very well at the moment. There, the grades are still running at about the 3.5 thereabouts as we published last year. And that is also the area that we will start mining first. And there we also were, in our feasibility study, we were also able to declare almost 288,000 ounces in reserve. So I think that number will roughly stay the same this year until we finish off further feasibility studies, which is scheduled for this year as well.
And just give me that name of your contractor again. And are they already active at Kuala Shallows, or is that still to come?
We've appointed Wits Mining, a black-owned mining contracting company. They do contracts for quite a number of the big players as well. And we've appointed them last year in October, and November they were busy setting up on site. And during the setup, November, December, we started with the box cut work and then the decline rehabilitation work. So these guys are well established. They're well part of our team now. And, the intention is for us to see how we can continue our relationship with them going into the future.
And how much gold do you think you'll produce this year? You will start producing this year.
Yeah, that's the plan, is to start producing this year. In fact, we've identified some old vamping areas where the guys left old material back in the day when they closed the mine. There was still a lot of material that they left. So we'll focus on those areas now. Towards the end of last year, we took a lot of samples in that area. So we've got a good understanding of what our initial grades would be. And then we hope to start mining there in February now, and then or at least start taking out the vamping material and then start mining the old available phases. Our rock engineering team and our ventilation teams are currently, as we speak, busy underground setting it up, making safe, identifying the rock conditions, identifying the ventilation requirements so that we are in a position to start mining or taking out ore in February, March and onwards. So we currently estimate that at least for the next 6 months, we'll be in a position where we take about 5,000 to 8,000 tons per month, where we take that out. And then as we understand the available phases a bit better, we will then extend that plan going forward. But what's interesting about this is excluding from our DFS study that we announced. These are small little mining areas that we found. Our DFS project, as we call it, was only really scheduled to kick in probably from about September this year, and then the first ore would have been delivered September next year, or at least Q4 next year. So what we've managed to do with this, as we call the early mining initiative, is to bring quite a bit of activities forward, that we are in a position to prove to people that yes, we can mine, the gold is there, and for this year we funded to start this early mining. We're still working on our debt funding initiatives as well. So at least for the next 6 months or so, we are funded to start our early mining initiative.
And will most of that debt come from Australia, or is there some coming from South Africa?
Look, we've appointed a company called Tarum International. They are rooted here in South Africa. So we hope that quite a big chunk of the funding, the debt funding, would be coming out of South Africa. And then, we can look at our Australian investor base to bring in some further equity later in the process.
Are you still happy with your projected costs? Have there been any changes on the cost per ounce of gold to be produced?
The feasibility study that we completed showed us quite a competitive dollar per ounce operating cost, or all-in sustaining cost. And now that we've got Moni Mining on board, we are now able to confirm that, the initial mining rates that they gave us is in line with our feasibility expectations. So I think at the moment we're not concerned that the mining cost would blow out. So I think that was a good exercise for us to go through that process, appoint Moni Mining for an early mining initiative. And then if they perform well, there's always the opportunity for us to then extend our relationship with them going forward.
And so how long will you be on the Vaping before you move to Kuala Shallows and then finally to Kuala Deeps, I presume?
Well, Kuala Shallows have got a life of about 14 years. So we'll be stuck in Kuala Shallows for quite a while. And then the idea is that we develop all the way down to Kuala Deeps. And then probably in about 3-4 years, when we get to Kuala Deeps, then we start opening up Kuala Deeps, So the idea is that we naturally roll over from Kuala Shallows into Kuala Deeps. So, we will be quite busy at Kuala Shallows for quite a while. The vamping material that we've identified, we've just really seen as a short-term initiative, because the ore is available, it's already blasted, the guys can remove it, and hopefully we generate a bit of income from that to cover some of our overhead costs. But our intention is to get into the in-situ ore body quite quickly. So, probably in March, April, we'll start blasting and taking out fresh rock that we can process.
So the vamping material is a nice surprise on the upside.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I mentioned that was excluded from our DFS, because at that point, when we were busy with our DFS, we never really went underground and we couldn't assess the area properly. But now that during November and December, we were able to install a ventilation system in there. We were able to make it safe with the assistance of our rock engineering team. And the guys were then able to assess what we've got underground. So it was a nice surprise for us. And then, the grades that we got from that area, even though it was just grab samples, because you couldn't really determine what the actual grades are, but that was in line with our expectations.
And how many jobs do you think will be created by your activities?
Ultimately, when we reach the 50,000 tons a month, we are looking at about 600-700 jobs that we'll create, which is from now until, say, 3 or 4 years from now, we'll build up to that number. So, there's a real opportunity for us. At the moment, I think we've got about 50 people on site already, and the number is set to grow, So I think what's nice about that is that even though we are in close proximity from formal establishments, and there's already transport routes and everything in there for people, we're secluded enough that we don't impact people. But yet, it's easy for people to get to work. We don't have to go and build a construction camp or a mine camp somewhere in the desert somewhere. We're nicely located where people already have made a living for themselves. The people that's in the vicinity of the mine, most of them that, the qualified guys, we actually have to lure them away from their current positions. So it makes it quite interesting, our current sector.
And also people will be able to live with their families come day to day, which is a very big thing.
Exactly. And that's what we've identified is that, you can, within the vicinity of the mine, you can pull in all sorts of skills. There's accountants available, there's engineers available, there's skilled mine machine operators available, so it's now really just for us to get hold of all those skills and then, to convince the people to come and work for us, so that we can build this mine.
And so most of the employees, will they be actually directly employed by the contractor or by yourselves?
At the moment, the idea is that we'll employ them through Wits Mining. They've got all their systems set up. We try and keep our head office, if I can call it like that, relatively small. And then with most of the focus from the 5 guys that we've got here to go into Wits Mining so that Wits Mining can employ them. They've got already all the systems and everything set up from their previous contracts. So it's a lot easier just to sort of employ these the operators through Wits Mining.
And if I went on site today and had a look around with you, what would be the highlights that you'd point out to me?
The thing that will impress you the most is that even though we are, as I mentioned earlier, in close proximity to housing developments, if you get there, you'll see that we are actually quite far away. We're nicely nestled in old mining areas. So you'll be surprised to almost realize that our impact on the surrounding areas would be minimal. And you'll see there, we've got a nice big fence up. We've got a nicely bush cleared area. All our infrastructure is set up. We've got change houses, offices. We've got our box cut that goes there that's now nicely shot treated. So it's a professional outfit that we're setting up, So I think, you'll be quite surprised that where there's limited development in gold in South Africa, that we've actually taken the decision to move forward and then to go and start taking out that gold that's available, in a professional and a safe manner.
And if I had to ask you to look long again, would you give me some sort of vision that you have for Wits Mining, over the long term? What do you see?
For us, the focus will be, especially this year, is to consolidate what we've got and to really understand what we've got. We've got a couple of growth initiatives that we want to work on now in the next couple of months. We've got a uranium exploration target that we announced last year as well. So we want to do further work on that. So that mining right area, we want to see how much we can identify further growth opportunities in that area. And then, one of the other things that we recently discussed is to look at other projects in South Africa and maybe across the border to see how we can then grow Best Wits as a mining company as well. So we've got a very good base resource, as we call it, and that we want to use as the sort of the cornerstone for future growth. We get this into operation, we grow this as much as possible, and then we look at other opportunities going forward.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Jacques van Heerden, the Managing Director of Wits Mining.